Well, hello again. We have some special remarks and tokens of appreciation. It does not matter what we do, it will not be enough. It will not fully convey our sense of gratitude for Mary Sue's leadership for the last 20 years. But we're going to try anyway. The council created a special longevity bonus. And we thought it should begin with the numbers 20. And so, $20,000. And no. So, how about $20? No. Anyway, Mary Sue, in your next paycheck, you'll receive a $2,000 bonus. It's actually going to be more than $2,000. We're paying the taxes on top of that. So when you see that, it is not in error. It is simply, again, it's a token of our appreciation. It doesn't do justice to 20 years, but it's our attempt.
You'll also notice as you walk through the narthex to the left, there is a tree made of branches that have some lights on it and some autumn leaves. And I encourage you each to take one of those leaves. The origination of that tree came a couple months ago when I was meeting with Mary Sue, and we were talking about our anniversary coming up, and I was like, what can we give you? What can the congregation give you? And she didn't even hesitate and said, people can volunteer. And you've heard her talk many times about, the old, I can't even do it, like the steeple, look inside, it's all the people, and that especially during the pandemic, that our church isn't this building, it's the people, and it's the community. And when we have new members come and we have babies that are baptized, we all take an oath to help them on their path. We can't do that if we're not all volunteering. So there's 45 leaves out there that have an opportunity. It's not asking you to sign up for a long time. It's just a one Sunday giving back and being part of the congregation and helping Mary Sue, bringing us together. You can sign up to be a greeter. You can sign up to be a lay reader. We need people, as this morning we almost had a little bit of a kerfuffle because we needed somebody just to sit in the nursery and hold babies. What a gift is that? Or to not necessarily lead the children, but just to be there with the children as a second adult. When Mary Slayton and I completed those leaves, we had more need than the 95 leaves we had. And the hope is that everybody will sign up for at least one, but if the Spirit should move you, please sign up for more. It's more than 90 people to fill all of those slots for a 3-month period. And again, our hope is that, one Sunday or 2 Sundays out of that 12-week period, if we all come together, then we are becoming the church and helping one another, as the song this morning and the reading relayed. So how do you do that? Well, each leaf has a different opportunity on it, so grab a leaf that suits your interests, and then you can do one of two things. You can go onto the ATC, and there's a link for the Sign Up Genius, and you go in. Our ask is that you sign up for one opportunity, at least one opportunity in the next 12 weeks, or you can call the office, and Allison can sign you up. Thank you. Mission Quilters?
I'm sure you recognize me by now. It seems that the Mission Quilters step forward when we have a special occasion, a special person, or some recognition is called for. And certainly this has been called for. And I'd like all our mission quilters to stand and be recognized if you're here today. Would you do that? So, Mary Sue, would you come up? This is our label, which says, "To Reverend Mary Sue Evers, celebrating 20 years of ministry, Cedar Hills United Church of Christ, Portland, Oregon, from the Mission Quilters, October 9th, 2020. Do I get to see it? You do get to see it? I don't get to see it. Show the back first. Show the back first. Wow. Now, there is a story with this, and I'm going to put it over here and ask you to follow the service, because I'm going to ask everyone afterwards if you'd come forward, and put it over here, to come and look at it, because Teresa Hall, she's our art quilter, right here, Teresa. And she found this pattern, and believe it or not, it is called crossed canoes. And if you look at each block, there are 2 crossed canoes. And I think
So that's the fun part. Now we've got to get down to business here. If you're fans of Rick Steves at all, you might have seen last night his little bit that he did about the city of Ephesus. It was just a short bit, but enough to show that it was a big city with a huge amphitheater that could seat 20,000 people that had perfect acoustics. I think every minister I know is really jealous of Ephesus. Now, the book of Ephesians is complicated. It's complicated by scholars who have argued over hundreds of years about issues such as who really wrote it, Paul or one of his disciples. Who was it really written to? There doesn't seem to have been a church in Ephesus, but there must have at least been a community that was worshiping. Why are there so many similarities between Ephesians and Colossians? And why, if the writer is not Paul, would he or she refer to himself as a prisoner of the Lord? Paul was literally imprisoned, but this could be suggesting that the writer was imprisoned by his love and dedication to Jesus Christ. So after reading several sources, I commented to my daughter that this book was truly a mystery, not unlike one by Louise Penny or J.A. Jance. You could track it down. And she said, "Don't say that." Because she said, Ephesus is famous for having many mystery cults that were not at all related to Christianity, and they were a problem. So when the writer of Ephesians speaks of mystery, he means the mystery of the resurrection or the mystery of God's glory, and not whatever else those cults might have been talking about. Nonetheless, the advice the writer of Ephesians gives to us in this passage is, in my estimation, very sound and appropriate as we celebrate our life together in this church under the leadership of Mary Sue Evers. So.
From Ephesians, the New Revised Standard Version. I, therefore, the prisoner in the Lord, beg you to walk in the manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to the hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in all. But each of us was given grace according to the measure of Christ's gifts. Therefore, it is said, when he ascended on high, he made captivity itself a captive. He gave gifts to his people. When it says he ascended, what does it mean but that he also descended into the lower parts of the earth? He who descended is the same one who ascended far above all heavens, so that he might fill all things. He himself granted that some are apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers, to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ. The word of God for the people of God.
I'll invite the choir to come forward to sing Jesus Christ, the apple tree. The tree of life my soul hath seen, laden with fruit and always green. The trees of nature fruitless be, compared with Christ, the apple tree. This fruit doth make my soul to thrive. It keeps my dying faith alive, which makes my soul in haste to be with Jesus Christ, the apple tree. The tree of life my soul hath seen, laden with fruit and always green. The tree of life my soul hath seen, laden with fruit and always green. The trees of nature fruit
The year was 2002, and here are a few of the most significant events. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Horrors was very popular. Jennifer Lopez, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake were the heartthrobs. SpaceX, founded by Elon Musk, was formed. The year was 2002, and the New York Patriots won the Super Bowl. President Bush, speaking at the United Nations, called for a regime change in Iraq. The year was 2002, and the most important thing was for us, are you ready? The Reverend Mary Sue Evers began her distinguished ministry here at Cedar Hills United Church of Christ. And we are here today celebrating 20 years of loving, caring, creative, dedicated, visionary ministry that Mary Sue has provided for us week after week, month after month, year after year, and continues to provide for us. We come to remember and to give thanks. I've made a partial list of the accomplishments of the church made under Mary Sue's leadership, and I offer them not in any historical order or level of importance, but to remind us all from whence we've come. We dispensed with our pews in this place and began utilizing chairs so that we could gather around the communion table, our family table. We expanded our front porch, that is our narthex, so that we might provide a more welcoming place for greeting newcomers and neighbors. The education building was refreshed to provide more small group meeting space, both for the church and for the groups from the community that come here often. The chapel was repurposed, first as a youth room and now for a children's education space. We installed an electronic sign at the corner which lets the community know what kind of a church we are by the news and views we express on it. And we've responded to the needs of our community by converting the parsonage into Mary Mack House to provide shelter for women recovering from abuse. And we've joined Family Promise, which provides for the needs of families in our community in need of housing. And for a short time and at an important time, we gathered in meal fellowship with Iraqi families in our community. We were one of the first churches on the west side to declare ourselves an open and affirming congregation, and later as an immigrant sanctuary church. And we have moved responsibly and creatively through this time of pandemic. You would probably add other events to this list, and I would hope that you would always remember to thank Mary Sue for those events. Now, Mary Sue would be the first person to say that she is not solely responsible for these accomplishments, but that they are the accomplishment of pastor and people serving together. But it has been her steadfast leadership in her 20 years of service that have made these accomplishments possible. It has been her persistent commitment in her preaching and teaching to open our eyes to what it means to be called into the church, to accept the cost and joy of discipleship in service to the whole human family. It has been her companionship with us as we have buried our loved ones and welcomed new life into our families, that the bonds that have united us have grown stronger. Now, when I asked Mary Sue the other day what has kept her here for 20 years, she said it has been the wonderful people. Mary Sue, you are a most wonderful person, and we are grateful for your continuing ministry among us.
Jean and I share an office, but we don't often share what each other is doing in the office. And so there will be a little bit of overlap here. Clearly, I wouldn't be up here if I didn't feel that Mary Sue is a very fine minister. She is, as you probably picked up from Jean and from Steve before that and Heidi, she is, I already lost my place. She's a good minister. She's here, and we're very happy about that. But anyway, I thought it would be good in my better moments to bring a little objectivity into this discussion. So I pulled off the top shelf of our study, the UCC Manual on Ministry, and I blew the dust off and turned to the section called Marks of a Faithful and Effective Authorized Minister. Now, this document was created in 2005 at the General Synod to answer questions that were coming up from people, and its purpose is to highlight the complex combination of talents, understandings, and skills needed for ministerial leadership in the UCC. It gives 8 marks, 8 categories. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with all 8. Each one of those 8 marks has 6 examples, so we could be here for a very long time, but I'm not going to do that. But I do want to just give one example. The first mark of the minister that's effective and faithful is that person exhibits spiritual foundation and ongoing spiritual practices. And this includes such actions as regular prayer, understanding the power of the Holy Spirit at work in the elements of Christian worship, to nurture faith, and sharing these practices. That's an important part, sharing these practices with the congregation. Mary Sue does that. The remaining 7 include nurturing UCC identity, building leadership skills, engaging sacred stories and traditions, caring for all creation, practicing theological reflection, working together for justice and mercy, living out healthy relationships with God, oneself, and respecting the dignity of all of God's people. My conclusion is that Mary Sue is being celebrated today in part because she meets all of those standards. If you want to see the details, I will share my manual on the ministry with you. It's very good reading, especially if you are having trouble getting to sleep. Anyway, I said that we're celebrating Mary Sue's 20 years of leadership in the church in part because she meets or exceeds these denominational marks, and they're actually quite important. That's true, but there's more, and each of us sitting here has our own reasons for wanting to celebrate today. Here are a couple of mine. Mary Sue cares. She listens, she texts, and like any sane person, she hates email, but she still responds, and she shows up. Many times when our family's been struggling with some issue or another, we get a call from Mary Sue. I'm coming to your neighborhood, and I just wondered if you would be around so that I could check in and see how things are going. Yes. The answer we give is always yes, and she shows up. Mary Sue is direct and honest, which is a help to me because sometimes I veer off a little bit. She meets her congregation at a local pub. She relates to all ages. She built and uses her very own canoe. There's a little sample of one up there. She's learning over time to take care of herself, as my spiritual director said, to take care of the instrument, which means yourself. Mary Sue has a sense of humor. The ministers I've seen in trouble over the years are often struggling, again, in part because they take themselves too seriously. Yes, you take yourself seriously, but not too seriously. And then there are the sermons. Biblically grounded, showing awareness of the current state of the world and the personal struggles of the people in this room, and at times lacing them with a little bit of humor. This church has been blessed and continues to be blessed by the ministry of Mary Sue Evers. I'm glad we're celebrating this important milestone in her ministry. I'm especially thankful for Alice Neal's part in pulling this all together. And everyone who's creating and contributing to the festivities. But now what? Mary Sue continues to do her work. How can we support her in that? How can we continue to support her in that? And the new fund, that's a good start, but there should be more. Honor her days off and schedule times for sermon preparation. Say yes, if you can, to a church or community responsibility. And last but not least, bear in mind that all churches are finding it a challenge to get their attendance numbers up to where they were before the pandemic. And I guess I have a suggestion to those other churches: celebrate your minister's 20th anniversary and you just bring them all in. Bottom line, we need to do what Paul said in the scriptures, to lead a life worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing one another in love. For 20 years, Mary Sue has shepherded us through good times and not so good times and really awful times. She has comforted us and challenged us, been present to us in times of need and in joy, all the other good things she has done. So it is good to be celebrating the ministry of Mary Sue Evers. Thank you.
About 10 years ago, somebody on council came up to me and said, "We're going to be celebrating Mary Sue's 10th anniversary soon." I said, "Well, that's great." And the woman said, "And we thought you could write a song." And I go, "Are you kidding?" But you never know what you can do when you're asked. And I wrote some words. I have no musical ability whatsoever. Zero. I don't even sing. If I'm up here and the microphone's on, I'm not actually making noise. So I wrote some words, got together with Sheila Thieme, and she jotted down some, I don't know, notes, whatever, and we did the song. Sadly, we lost Sheila, and we lost the music. So in the last month, after Steve looked for the music, it just is gone. Got together with Steve Tarr. Steve Tarr has a lot of amazing hidden talents, and one of them is he knows how to write music. He did this on the computer. So, God's in My Boat will not get lost again. We're still tinkering with it a little bit. The words have changed a little, the music's changed a little, but Mary Sue, this is your song.
We'll teach you the chorus, just the chorus right now. Sing along. All creatures come to your waters, drink of your spirit, play like otters. I count my blessings as I float the river of life. God's in my boat. And the chorus, we'll all join in the chorus, but the choir will join in and lead for the verses. Here we go. Rivers and brooks, ponds, lakes, and estuary, rock-strewn shores, reed beds, your sanctuary. God, launch my canoe in the waters of life, and guide me through the eddies of strife. With you in my boat, I am never weary. All creatures come to your waters, drink of your spirit, play like otters. I count my blessings as I float the river of life. God's in my boat. All creatures come to your waters, drink of your spirit, play like otters. I count my blessings as I float the river of life. God's in my boat. Snow melt tumbles quick, golden clear. God's light touch on my paddle helps me steer. My canoe meanders through many side streams. Life's rivers pass, not always what it seems. With you in my boat, I have nothing to fear. All creatures come to your waters, drink of your spirit, play like otters. I count my blessings as I float the river of life. God's in my boat. All creatures come to your water, drink of your spirit, play like otters. I count my blessings as I float the river of life. God's in my boat. Sands struggle upstream, instinctive home. So many tributaries I may roam. Turn
sun on logs, blue herons knee deep, frogs croak, loons cries, wake me from my sleep. With you in my boat, I am never alone. All creatures come to your waters, drink of your spirit, play like otters. I count my blessings as I flow, the river of life, God's in my boat. All creatures come to your waters, drink of your spirit, play like otters. I count my blessings as